Hi, it's Bernadette Jiwa here, and I'm thrilled to be talking to Seth Godin about his new book, The Icarus Deception, amongst other things. Thanks for being here, Seth.
Hi, Bernie. Thanks for doing this.
Now, you've got a secret, and the secret is, to your writing, is that you always make the person on the other end of the writing feel like you're speaking to them. So I feel like you wrote this book for me, but you didn't actually write this book for me.
Maybe I did.
Who did you write it for?
I think I wrote it for you, Bernie. I wrote it for me, too. I wrote it for a lot of the people that I'm lucky enough to interact with. I wrote it for my kids and my unborn grandchildren. I wrote it because I had a lot I wanted to say, and I wanted to say it in a form that had more impact than a blog post that'll disappear in one day. And so it wasn't hard once I got started to put the words out there, but it was really hard to decide to do it.
Okay, so why was it hard to decide to do it then?
Well, because I have no right to be talking about this stuff. People can say, how dare you go back to email marketing, please. But I think I left that 7 years ago, and it's in good hands, but I'm on to the next thing. But when you're going to touch a nerve with people and help them confront their fear, sometimes they don't know how to respond to that. I wrote a post the other day called Those People, in which I called out a woman who ran a community college for basically writing off her entire student body. And I got lots of great feedback. But I also got email from people who were angry at me for not cutting this woman slack and for not understanding that there really are those people in the world, and that she was probably being pragmatic in writing off people who were, quote, never going to amount to anything. Mm-hmm. And I understand that those people really aren't angry at me. They're angry at themselves.
Okay. So why do you think they're angry at themselves?
Because they've written themselves off, and it's really safe to do that. Mm-hmm. It's really safe to say, well, I'm not the sort of person that can make art, that can connect people, that can lead. Just in a tiny tactical way, I'm not the kind of person who can have a blog or they can say something original. I'm not the kind of person that can put a big idea out into the world. So we create all these boundaries for ourselves because it's safe inside the fence.
Mm. So tell me about the book then. What's the most important thing you want people to get from that?
You know, I was really lucky 2 days ago. I got to spend the afternoon with Tom Ziegler. And Tom's dad, Zig, died a couple months ago. Mm. And he asked me what was, of all the things that Zig has said, what was the most important quote? What was the most important line? And I said, you know, there isn't one. Okay. That for me, what Zig said were two words without ever actually saying them. And the words were, you can. That you can do that thing. And so I hope what people will take away from this book is something I didn't write, which is that the bar is higher than you might want it to be, and you can set it there if you choose.
I did an interview today with Mo from 33 Voices. I don't know if you're familiar with him. Hey, Snap. He interviews authors, and he's got a great community for entrepreneurs. And he said to me, you know, who's the most important person? He said, I think I know who your most important influence is, but can you tell us? And can you tell us, you know, what that person's taught you? And what I said to him was that, you know, you taught me how to see, and you taught me how to be brave and how to not be fearful. So I think a lot of your work, and I feel a lot of the work in this book, is about giving people permission. And I wonder why it is we need that.
Well, because people have taken away permission for so many years. That we've been told since we were 3 years old that we can't do things, that we shouldn't try to do things, that you shouldn't apply to a college you won't get into. Yeah. Well, why exactly? And that you shouldn't raise your hand in class because you might say something stupid, and that you shouldn't be the first into the pool, whatever the pool is, because there might be alligators in it. And so I think we probably don't have nearly enough people saying, go, 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 go make a ruckus, go stand up, go raise your hand, go say something stupid, go put it into the world. That if it's generous and if it's a contribution, why not?
Yeah. I wanted to touch on your blog post from today, which I absolutely love. It's all, I've pulled it up here, about being open and generous and connected. When you wrote that, what were you thinking?
I was thinking about conferences, some that I go to and some that I don't. That what happens in these things is you would think that when we're finally away from our keyboards and in the world and connected, we would be virtually and physically embracing one another. But instead there's a lot of this, right? And the people, some of the best friends I have in the world are people I have met at these events 7 years ago, 8 years ago, 4 years ago. And they're rare because of the 200 people you meet in 5 minutes. They're the ones who are open. Yeah. They're the ones who are being generous. They're the ones who are connected. That when you talk to them, they're not giving you a cocktail party speech and then looking over your shoulder to see if there's someone better on the other side of the room. And when I got to thinking about the folks in my life who I spend time with, who I talk with, people like you, the reason that you and I hit it off is because you're generous, you're connected to me and to so many other people, and you're open about what you're feeling and what you're doing. Now, maybe there are some people who want closed, selfish, and isolated people in their life. But my sense is that most of us are looking for the opposite. And I thought Valentine's Day and Generosity Day, which my friend Sasha invented, were a perfect time to just sort of lay out these 3 items and push ourselves and me to be all 3.
So the sort of people I think that you write for, and the people who are reading your post today, and the people who are going to pick up the Icarus Deception, maybe they're the sort of people who get South by Southwest envy, and they wish they could go there, and they wish they could be amongst, being from one of the most isolated cities in the world, getting to something like South by Southwest, a couple of years ago would have been a big deal and a big thing I want to do. Maybe not so much now, but what's that all about? What do you think we're looking for when we go to those places?
Yeah, I think that a lot of people like being alone together. I got invited to speak at South by this year, and I turned them down.
Okay.
And I just didn't think it would be fun to fly to Texas and have 3,000 people sort of paying attention while they're busy tweeting and sort of connecting while they're busy trying to connect with somebody else in this flurry and then come home. I didn't think they'd get as much out of it as they'd get just reading a book. And I didn't think I'd get anything out of it at all, because the whole maelstrom of how fast can we touch how many people, but touch them in a way they won't remember, Dunbar's number won't let us do that. We only have 150 people in our lives that we're sort of wired to be able to care about. And you can overload that number for a while, but they don't become friends, they become friendlies. And I think we have enough friendlies now, and we don't need to figure out how to rush together to get more of them.
So how do we fix that? How do we change that mindset where, we're not all rushing to have as many followers as we can on Facebook or Twitter? How do we fix that?
Well, I guess it depends on your goal. John Mayer, with 2 million or whatever Twitter followers he had the last time I looked, can sell a lot of records in one day when he needs to. So as a business opportunity, I think that it's okay to have different rules. That, Starbucks doesn't really have friends. Starbucks is a corporation. How can it have friends? As human beings, there isn't a macro solution, there's a micro solution. The micro solution is, as you decide how to spend the next hour of your life, do you want to spend it disconnecting or connecting? Do you want to spend it being selfish or being generous? That a colleague of mine who had great success 20 years ago in the offline world came to me and asked, how does he replicate that in the online world? And I said, it's 100% a posture shift. That the posture shift is, how do I go from creating scarcity and then selling it, which is the way you made money as a direct marketing consultant, to creating abundance and then contributing to it. That the people who do that don't ever have to worry about being lonely, and they don't ever have to worry about making an impact, and they don't have to worry about making a living, because the community always wants more generosity. They will always open the door for you when you come back, because they know that you're going to leave the room brighter than you found it. And so, yeah, we pay attention to the trolls and to the people who are there to pick a fight, and the people who are, eagerly saying you're not good enough. You sent me a note the other day about Jonah. Why don't you chime in on that, because I'm talking too much.
Yeah, because Jonah Laher, he gave this speech, and I've just noticed again that there's a bit of a hoo-ha about the Knight Foundation paying him $20,000 for this talk, and I have to say that I can't imagine how hard it must be to be him right now, because with all that glare upon you, he made a mistake, and people just want to beat him down for that forever. And I think that's sad, because he's a bright mind, and he's obviously going to come back from this, and he's got things to contribute. So I just question why we spend our time doing that stuff.
Exactly. I mean, he didn't kick any puppies. He didn't unplug anyone from the IV drip line. There obviously was something going on in his head, and he made a bunch of misguided decisions. The fascinating thing is, I think the Knight Foundation got a bargain, and I think that what Jonah did was insanely brave. He could have just gone off and become an insurance agent or something and never been in the public eye again. But to open the door to the way he was thinking, and to help other people who might erroneously follow in that path, is heroic. And it wasn't a plan. It's not like he blew things up so then he could go figure out how to make a little bit of money talking about it. But it's so easy to write the negative thing. Yeah. It's so difficult to actually shine a light on the good stuff.
So at the end of this blog post today, you said you talked about getting back to first principles. What do you mean?
Well, I didn't ever live with saber-toothed tigers around the campfire in a nomadic tribe. But you can probably bet that without all this mimetic cultural force pushing us to be uncomfortable, we probably did things then that were a little bit more basic in terms of what we needed to be part of the community.
Yeah.
And sure, there was still the court jester and the provocateur when we were in little tribes of 150 people, but you didn't last very long if you weren't a contributor. And so we've created all these layers of soft tissue that let somebody be invisible, that let someone be anonymous, that let someone live in a shack on their own, just taking. And I think we should take away some of those things and figure out. Sorry, that's the hot water pot, your favorite song there. I think we should take away some of that stuff and say, you know what? At the end of the day, when we say today was a good day, it's probably a good day because we did something that our mom would be proud of, or we did something that's going to pay dividends in the future. We don't need more critics. We need more artists. We need more creators. And so if you're finding yourself becoming the critic, maybe it's worth looking at why you're doing that and what you might be able to do instead.
My last question to you was going to be, actually, probably you've answered it there, was what should we be doing? What one thing should we be doing today before we check our email, before we look at our Twitter stream and our Facebook? What should we be doing?
I think the simple, tactical, non-philosophical answer is this. Before you consume, create. Before you read something, write something. Before you listen to a song, sing a song. That the act of becoming a creator of any kind puts your ideas into the community, and it puts something forward. So it's not an accident that I try to do my blog posts around 5 a.m. because I want you to read them before you go to bed. But for most people, I think it's a nice way for me to start the day, to say to them, here, I made this. And those 4 words are so hard to say. Here, I made this. And I think it would be a great habit for a lot of us to get into.
That's a brilliant way to end. Thanks, Seth. Perfect.
Bernie, it's so good to talk to you. I'll see you soon.